Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy, and he's been married for 6 years. Videotaping his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day, he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her, ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're at KBLA Talk 1580.
The blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Blackness. Never say die. Never say die. Keep on. Never say die. Blackness. Never say die. All of them just
When in the midst of sorrow, you can see up and looking down. A brighter day tomorrow will bring. You hear the voice of reason telling you this can never be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your dreams, yeah.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, joining you in afternoon drive time right here in sunny LA. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or if you're feeling froggy, tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Speaking of listening pleasure, look, I love to keep a community calendar. I think it's important for us to get out and be in community with each other and support one another as much as we can. And so you'll always see me do my darndest to promote events that I'm interested in. And chances are you might be interested in them as well. It is Black History Month. And here on KBLA Talk 1580, we celebrate Black History Month, not just in February. We celebrate it every day. But on February 12th, if you're going to be in Los Angeles, you may want to check out this Black History Month event. It's a D'Angelo tribute. It's happening February 12th at 7 p.m. at the Valentine, downtown LA, located at 600 East 4th Street here in LA. I am sure you're going to have a good time. The people over at Soul Stage LA, they're presenting this D'Angelo tribute. It's a vocal competition, really, with a $1,000 grand prize. And the best part is you get to choose the winner. And so you can experience performances from not one, not two, not three, but 6 local vocalists individually performing 2 songs, one of which will be from D'Angelo's catalog. And each vocalist will be accompanied by a live band, and LA's own DJ Bella Fox will keep the vibe going between performances. It sounds like a good time. And so I'm planning to be there. So if you plan to be there, then, let's call it a date. All right. So the D'Angelo tribute, again, taking place on February 12th. Be there or be square. All right. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Nothing too ugly about this. Chanel Jones, who has been in the news quite a bit in the past year. She celebrated her late husband's birthday with an epic surprise for his hospice team. Our friends over at the Griot reporting that when today's the Today Show anchor Chanel Jones, when her husband Uche died in May 2025 from brain cancer, she didn't get the chance to properly thank his hospice team until this week. On Wednesday, what would have been Uche's 46th birthday, the 47-year-old anchor welcomed the hospice team who cared for him during his final days battling glioblastoma for a special surprise on the show. The heartfelt and emotional segment, it began with a video of Chanel explaining that when caring for a loved one in hospice, you encounter a whole group that becomes like family. And she hadn't had a chance to thank them because of how quickly everything unfolded after his death. But his team, she shared, consisted of Jazzy Stickle, Denise James Wright, Nikira Owens, Chanel Duff, and Jessica Goldstein, each of whom spoke warmly about caring for Chanel Jones' family during Uche's final days. Remembering the first time her family entered Hudson Valley Hospice, she shared the message that she got from the team right away, saying, quotes, "You're not here to die, you're here to live, and we're going to give you the best days that you have left." Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it's just a reminder that in the midst of these headlines that sometimes feel like kindness and decency, support, uplift is on the decline in the world, there are stories like this that remind us that there is still kindness and empathy and compassion in the world. And sometimes we got to squint and look for it a little harder, but it's there. And so major salute to my friend and colleague, Chanel Jones. She's good people, y'all. She's good people. She is the real thing. And I'm not surprised that she's using her platform to lift up not just the hospice team that supported her husband, but people who work in hospice every single day that are making that transition as easy as it can possibly be. In other news, USA Today is reporting that Michelle Obama's Becoming is surging on Netflix amid Melania's movie release. So many First Lady documentaries, so little time. On the heels of the release of Melania, which is a new movie chronicling First Lady Melania Trump's life in the lead up to her husband's second inauguration, viewership has surged for another film, Becoming, another documentary following former First Lady Michelle Obama on her first book tour, is inching its way back to popularity on Netflix. The film first released in 2020. It saw viewership hike in the US, and there are reports that the film, which shares a title with Obama's first memoir, saw an increase of more than, get this, 13,000% through February. And despite a cloud of criticism surrounding its release, Melania has been a box office surprise. The film notched a $7 million opening weekend, according to estimates released by Amazon MGM. Director Brett Ratner, who's been in Hollywood exile since denying multiple sexual harassment allegations in 2017, Melania was directed by him. And it's been tracking for a $3 to $5 million opening. So anything over $1 million is a huge number, according to some industry analysts. And so, look, what does it say? It says people are interested in First Lady documentaries. But you know what it also says? It says our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama. She is, her story is just as exciting today, 5 years, almost 6 years after the release of her documentary. It's just as exciting today as it was in 2020. There you have it. Finally, I don't know if y'all have been tracking this. I certainly have. Did you all see this clip of a juror from the O.J. Simpson trial? If you haven't, I'm just going to play it for you real quick. Take a listen.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit O.J. because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
Yeah, you heard what she said. A juror from the O.J. Simpson trial said that 90% of the jury believed that he was guilty, but acquitted him anyway as payback to white people. These internet streets are on fire following this clip that has been circulating. When we come forward, you don't want to miss my conversation with Keith Sloan Sowich. He is the author of a new book called Stalked, It Could Have Been Me. He shares his unique perspective and never before heard stories about his relationship with Nicole Brown Simpson and interactions with O.J. Simpson. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
My perfect day has sand, salt, water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on autopsy, then click on request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and we love authors around here. That's why we're in conversation with Keith Slomsowicz. He is the author of Stalked. It Could Have Been Me. He shares his unique perspective and never before heard stories about his relationship with Nicole Brown Simpson and interactions with O.J. Simpson. Here to share more, Keith Slomsowicz, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Doctor.
Well, thank you for being here. First things first, why did you decide to write the book Stalked after all these years? Why did you decide to come forward with this story?
Quite honestly, because OJ is gone. I didn't feel it was safe to divulge some of this information, talk about some of these stories, share some of Nicole's stories that she shared with me while OJ was still alive. I knew his anger that he always had towards me, and it was disconcerting. So I felt once he died, even though I hadn't considered a book up to that point, the media had reached out to me so much that I thought maybe there's still an interest. And if I can tell Nick's story and get her word out and speak for her as much as I can, I was willing to do that. And I certainly felt safer from a physical standpoint after his demise.
Talk to us about how you met Nicole Brown Simpson.
Skiing in Aspen, Colorado, one beautiful, glorious January day in 1992. I just spotted her across the sun deck, and it was like the clouds opened up and a vision of beauty was there. And I was dead set on meeting her one way or another. So I simply walked up and started a conversation, and that's how we met.
And was it immediately sort of more friend zone, or, was it romantic? And at the time, what was her relationship status with O.J. Simpson?
She had just left O.J. Simpson. She brought it up to me at that meeting, at that very first meeting. She said she had come to Aspen to get away from her abusive husband. Didn't mention his name, didn't mention who he was. I heard her mention the word Mezzaluna as I was standing near her table, and that was my in to inject myself in the conversation because I was director of operations for all the Mezzaluna restaurants, Aspen and Los Angeles. So I thought that was the way to meet her. So we started talking about that. She told me she had come there to get away from her abusive husband, invited her in for dinner that evening so I could get to know her a little better and spend time with her. She brought her friends that she was there with and her two children, Sydney and Justin. So they had a great dinner in Mezzaluna. Afterwards, she approached me and said, "You want to go out and maybe dance a little and have a drink afterwards?" I was excited because I wanted to spend some one-on-one time with her, which we did. We went out that evening. She was going back to LA the next day, so we had a short period of time to kind of get to know each other. As we were having fun, getting to know each other at the nightclub we went to, she got up to go dancing or something, and one of my friends approached me in my ear and said, "Wow, dude, you realize that's OJ's wife?" And I went, "Wow, okay, well, I guess that makes sense." She didn't mention his name before, and when she came back, I mentioned that I had just found out that, and she sort of brushed it off like, "Well, I guess now you know." But neither one of us sort of focused on that. We spent the rest of the evening together. We got a little closer. We talked about I would be in LA in a couple of months to do my normal routine of running the restaurants out there. And I said, I'd love to pick up where this night is taking us and see if we can get to know each other better. And we agreed that would be a great course of action. So we stayed in touch over the phone for the next couple of months until I arrived in LA, and we picked up where we left off.
In the book, you write about discovering that O.J. Simpson had been watching you during an intimate moment with Nicole Brown Simpson through the window. How long after your initial encounter with Nicole, did this really creepy experience happen?
That one in particular was probably 3 weeks or so after I had gotten to LA. We had several other incidents of stalking where OJ had showed up at restaurants and confronted us and tried to intimidate us. But this incident in particular was actually the first night that we made love. It was a very special evening for us. We were out at a comedy club that night. We ended up at Roxbury going dancing. And while we were in Roxbury, she realized he was there. So she looked at me and said, he's here again. Like he showed up at every place we ever went to. So she said, what do you want to do? And I said, let's just get out of here. So we did. We went back to her house. Things led to what they led to. We lit some candles, had some wine, and we ended up making love, not knowing that he was watching us through the window of her house. We didn't find out until the next day when he sort of burst in the back bedroom we were in of her house innocently in that bedroom and confronted us with I watched you. I saw everything you did. I can't believe you were doing that. I can't believe. I stood in between them. I wouldn't back down. I said, I'm not going to leave you alone with her. That's what he was trying to get. He said, I want to talk to you alone. I want to speak to you alone. And I was having none of it. She was trembling, holding my hand. It took her to convince me to leave the room for a couple of minutes so they could talk alone, or else he would never leave the house, which I did. But I stayed close to the door so I could hear if anything violent would happen. When she came out of the bedroom, she was white as a ghost. You could see the fear on her face. He reached out to shake my hand, sort of half-heartedly, pronouncing he's a proud man, and then he disappeared as quickly as he came. Nick looked at me, had this look of fear in her face, and said, oh my God, Keith, he watched us. He saw everything we did. He watched us through the window last night. At that point, we knew nothing was off limits. We knew that anything we did, if we weren't safe in the privacy of her home at 2:00 in the morning, where were we safe? So we became very aware of our actions and our surroundings from that point on.
So talk to me about your friendship and love affair with Nicole Brown Simpson. How shortly after that did it end, and why did it end?
Well, the relationship, physical relationship, lasted only about 2 or 3 months while I was in Los Angeles for work. It was always slated for me to go back to Aspen mid-May, as my normal routine would take me. So we knew that day was coming, but we had one last blow up with OJ down at the beach house in Laguna that I write about in the book. And after that experience, which involved her family, her parents, her sisters, we just sort of walked down the beach, sat and watched the sunset and looked in each other's eyes and said, he is not going to let this happen. He is going to be following us and watching everything we do from this point on. So we looked at each other and said, let's just back up a little bit. You're going back to Aspen. Let's just sort of take a little break from this and see where things lead us. And what that did was eventually lead to the best friendship of my life. For the next year and a half, Nick and I were as close as you can be, as two people could be. We shared everything on a daily basis. She visited me in Aspen numerous times. I was in LA for business. I ended up living in Nick's house for 3 months after that. I came back to LA later that year to open the Monkey Bar, one of our other restaurant projects, and she insisted that I move into the house. And the good thing about that was OJ was gone. He was doing football coverage that whole time. So it was safe for me. Even though we weren't in a physical dating relationship at that time, it was a safe ambiance for me to be there, because he wasn't, the specter of him over top of us wasn't there every day. When we were dating, he was in LA every day. If he was in town, he was following us. It was when he was out of town, we felt a little safer. So I moved in during that period of time, and we were best friends. We shared everything together up until the fateful October 1993 911 call, which everyone's familiar with, where he kicks in the back door of the house and he's screaming my name, Keith, 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 all over the 911 tapes. That event led to Nicole and I not speaking. The next time I saw Nicole after that incident, because OJ insisted that she never speak to me again, he ripped up her phone book, he tore up all our pictures. Nick told me about it. She didn't tell me about the 911 call, but when we finally got in touch with each other 3 days after this event, she told me, Keith, we just can't talk. You make him crazy. The mere mention of your name drives him insane, and I'm really trying to give this reconciliation 100%, because all she wanted was her family together, the father of her children. So she risked everything to put that back together. So she said, Keith, we just can't talk anymore. And I told her I loved her, and we hung up the phone, not knowing where the future would take us. But 6 months later, she's dead. I'm holding her casket was the next time I saw her as a pallbearer at her funeral. So I was devastated.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And an event that happened as I'm a pallbearer holding her casket, standing 2 feet from the guy I know murdered her, because he was still a free man. The Bronco chase was the day after the funeral. Then I'm approached by the Brown family in person for the first time, because we had only talked on the phone. The funeral was 3 days after the murder. And they told me that I was in the conversation the night she was murdered, that while they were having dinner at Mezzaluna, someone in her family said, well, what about Keith? What happened with Keith now that you're single again and now that OJ's out of your life again? And she said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to surprise him. So the Brown family told me that at the funeral, and imagine my emotions. I lost the woman I always loved and still truly loved. I'm holding her casket 2 feet from the guy who killed her, being told that she was thinking of me the night she was murdered after I hadn't spoken to her in 6 months. And the full range of emotions just were flooding me. They are right now talking about it. So imagine in real time how I felt.
Yeah.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says President Trump wants Congress to pass voter ID legislation, specifically the SAVE Act, requiring proof of U.S. citizenship to vote in federal elections.
In states like California or in places like New York City, non-citizens are allowed to vote in state and local elections.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt clarified his stance after comments suggesting elections should be nationalized, saying the president's focus is on passing the legislation. A plaque and educational materials at the Medgar and Myrlie Evers Home National Monument have been updated, removing language that labeled his assassin a racist. Civil rights leader Medgar Evers was murdered in 1963 by a Ku Klux Klan member, and critics say the changes sanitize history. And an Army veteran from Covington, Georgia, is facing possible deportation after nearly 5 months in ICE custody. Jamaican-born Godfrey Wade has lived in the U.S. for more than 50 years. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
10 eastbound before Robertson. That's where a stalled car is blocking that right lane, and the drive is loading up all the way out of Santa Monica, leaving Centinela, remaining slow through Mid-City as you continue to 5 and Boyle Heights. Hey, we've got some good news in Riverside on that westbound side of the 91 at Magnolia Avenue. It looks like it's only the right lane now that's off limits, and the drive is still really tough getting away from just about Mission. We're also checking out the 15. This is heading into Ontario, or leaving Ontario rather, southbound before Limonite. Right lane remains off limits after an earlier crash. Delays from the 10.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers made another major move to reshape their roster for the future. They traded center Ivica Zubac to the Indiana Pacers for 2 first-round draft picks and 1 second-round pick. Zubac had been the Clippers' starting center since 2018. Indiana also gave the Clippers guard Benedict Mathurin and forward Isaiah Jackson. It looks like Clippers management was tired of having the oldest roster in the NBA. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked second in the country, extended their winning streak to 16 games Wednesday night. They beat Rutgers by 40. Kiki Rice led the Bruins with 17 points and 3 steals. The Bruins are 22-1 12-0 in the Big Ten Conference. They play at number 8 Michigan on Sunday. The Rams and 49ers will play the NFL's first regular season game in Australia in 2026. The game will be played in Melbourne. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaping his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her, ugly over down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're at KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me! National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah. Keith, talk to us about how you found out about the murder and what your immediate response was when you learned that Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman had been brutally killed.
I was in Atlanta. I left the Mezzaluna restaurant group, so I was seeking out a location for a place for myself in Atlanta. And a friend actually called me and woke me up and said, turn on the TV. He knew about my relationship with Nicole. And I did. So initially it was more of a fact seeking, what happened when you hear someone's found dead. The word murder doesn't come into play immediately. You're trying to find out what had happened. The minute I found out some of the details that it was a brutal murder, Ron was involved, one of my employees at Mezzaluna was involved. Then my focus shifted directly to he's responsible. Knowing the information I knew about the volatile past and what he might be capable of, I thought to myself, he either did it directly or had somebody else do it at his, for him. So there was no doubt in my mind. I contacted the family immediately. That's when they asked me if I could fly out and be a pallbearer. And that took us to the events of the funeral, which I just described.
That's a lot. That's a lot of shock to absorb in a very short period of time.
And remember, the next day was the Bronco chase. And 2 days later, I'm on the witness stand for the grand jury. So that was a hell of a 7-day period, my man. That was horrible.
And so, cut to the verdict, the O.J. Simpson verdict. It was a verdict that I remember like it was yesterday. I also remember sort of the division that it highlighted here in the United States and around the world in terms of, actual and perceived equal justice under the law. OJ was, of course, acquitted of any criminal wrongdoing. He was later held accountable in civil proceedings. But what was your response to the verdict in the criminal case?
Well, you got to remember that I was aware of the racial climate in Los Angeles. I had lived through the riots. That was when Nicole and I were dating, when we were spending all our time together. So we knew about the history of LA, the DA, the police system there. So we were aware of that. But also remember that I was under subpoena, both by the prosecution and the defense, if you can believe that. So I wasn't allowed to watch the trial. And I stuck by that. So I was unaware of the daily events, what was going on. I had caught wind that it had turned into a racial they had taken away from all the evidence, the focus from the evidence, and it had turned into almost a circus. I was hearing stories about that. So I was kind of preparing myself for a horrible outcome. I was praying that it wouldn't be that. I was hoping that the jury would weigh everything based on the evidence and not what the defense was presenting. From what my understanding was, it took me years to go back and research the trial. As you know, it was long and lengthy, and I write about it in the book that every single piece of evidence and every witness had a backstory and another element to their testimony that I had to go back and study. But to answer your question, as the jury came to a verdict and I was watching it and waiting for it, I was about 50-50 at that point. I was hopeful that things would play out the way they should, but fearful that maybe they wouldn't. And it turns out it went the second way.
Was there ever a part of you that thought maybe O.J. Simpson had been framed? Maybe O.J. Simpson, may have had somebody else do it. Was there ever a part of you that thought, well, maybe O.J. himself didn't do it. Maybe he knew something, maybe was involved in some way, shape, or form. But was there a part of you that ever thought, well, it's quite possible that O.J. didn't do it, and O.J. Being a Black man in an American justice system that doesn't always deliver equal justice under the law to Black people, was it ever dawned on you that could be possible?
Well, I knew a lot of the evidence because the prosecution shared a lot of stuff with me. So as I learned more and more of that, I obviously didn't have those feelings. But what I did do in writing this book is I went back and I looked at this entirely from an objective point of view. I didn't take one side or the other. I didn't look at the evidence or the trial. My research took me where my research took me. I enlisted the help of a couple of friends of mine who journalists over the years who covered every aspect of the trial, who helped tell me the evidence based on its merits, not from the prosecution side, not from the defense's side. I wanted to understand how the jury came up with the verdict that they did, and I wanted to look at it. And I write about it in the book, that it's very unbiased. My views in the book about the trial specifically were based on evidence presented from both sides. So I gave it a fair shake. And not only did I feel that he was guilty based on my emotions, but my brain led me to, through the evidence, to feel that there was no doubt in my mind that he was guilty, that there were some very bad things that happened in the LA Police Department and the district attorney's office. I can't change that. I feel bad for those situations, but I don't think that was at play in this particular trial.
Did you ever speak to OJ after the trial? Was there ever any phone call, any face-to-face, any exchange that you had with him?
No, absolutely not. But he did mention me numerous times over the years, both in interviews that I saw and in his book, If I Did It, where he mentions me by name numerous times and is very disparaging about me. So he never forgot me. Years later, he's still writing about negative things about me. So if he truly was innocent and was looking for the person who committed these crimes, what does he really care about me at that point? he should be focused on who killed his ex-wife and Ron Goldman. But that just reaffirmed my belief that he was still so mad at me, and that's an anger he never got over. And the title of the book is Stalked. It could have been me for a reason, because I honestly feel that the night he watched us through the window of the house, if he'd have still been outside when I left at 3 o'clock in the morning, that it would have been me. And I honestly feel that the night he murdered Ron, he thought Ron was possibly me, coming from Mezzaluna. He knew Mezzaluna were my restaurants, didn't know I was out of town. In the dark, a guy coming through the gate, he associates Nick having dinner at Mezzaluna, him watching us through the window several years prior. Maybe that clicked something in his brain. I had to live with that my entire life. I give Ron a lot of credit in the book, not having known him personally. He was hired after I left the company, but I feel Ron stepped up and did his best to defend Nicole, both physically and the best way he could that night, and paid the ultimate price with his life. And I thank him for sticking up for Nick.
What do you hope people who find themselves in abusive relationships, people who find themselves in relationships where they're being stalked by an ex-lover or an ex-husband, what do you hope that those folks get out of this book, as this story is bigger than Nicole Brown Simpson and the murder of Ron Goldman? There are stalkers out there every single day that are terrorizing people that once upon a time may have been in a relationship with them. What do you hope that these folks having this experience get out of this book?
It was a very important reason why I wrote the book. That's an equally big factor. Over the years, more so since the advent of social media, I've been reached out to by numerous women involved in violent relationships that somehow found courage through watching my story and how I tried to protect Nicole and save her from that situation, that they garnered the strength to get out of relationships and possibly save their life. So I knew going into this project that if I could affect some of those future relationships, if some women down the line could read my book and understand the signs and see what we went through, and how maybe if they're living a similar experience, to know that it doesn't change, that it's a dangerous situation to get out of, and also that there's a very big support system. Thanks to Nicole's murder, if something good came out of it, it was that a lot more light was shed on domestic violence, and a lot more support systems popped up since then. So know that there's an outlet. Reach out locally or nationally to a system that will help you get away from that violent situation, because it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. And most of the time that's the situation. It doesn't get any better, it gets worse. So I wanted women to understand that. And Denise Brown at the moment is writing a domestic violence based book, and I hope people will follow that when it comes out, because she's focusing all her energy on that element, and I give her all the credit in the world for that as well.
Yeah, just a reminder to all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. I remember when some of the domestic violence tapes related to Nicole Brown Simpson, when those hit the news, when those tapes were released, those 911 calls. I also remember the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, Tina Turner's movie, when that came out, and that shed light on the domestic violence she had to endure. And so, these things happening in pop culture helped to pave the way for then Senator Joe Biden to pass the Violence Against Women's Act in Congress, which remains one of his biggest legislative achievements as a senator. And so I just want to connect the dots between telling our stories and creating change, so that people have the tools and resources and don't feel alone. Keith, in our final moment with you, I want to ask you perhaps a more provocative question. What do you hope that particularly, not just all people, but particularly Black people, take away from the experiences that you write about in this book? We were just talking about the racial divide that the O.J. Simpson trial illuminated for the country and for the world. If you had a chance to speak directly to Black America, what do you hope that we get out of this book?
I would hope that we could all understand that at the end of the day, we're just people, Black, white, or other. We all have emotions. We all have love for each other, and we all commit violent acts. And it's something you need to look at based on the person, not based on the person's skin color. I want people to be treated equally, no matter who they are or what they are. And I don't think the jury actually got that, sadly. But I think if most people can read the book and understand that we were just two people in love, and it didn't matter what color OJ was to us. He was just an ex-husband who was jealous and was stalking us. And if people could take away from that, great, fantastic.
My thanks to Keith Slom-Sowich. He is the author of Stalked, It Could Have Been Me, where he shares a very unique and searing perspective and never before heard stories about his relationship with Nicole Brown Simpson and interactions with O.J. Simpson. Many thanks to you, Keith, and we wish you continued healing from all that you have had to remember from some time ago with Nicole and O.J. It's never easy to have to relive stuff. But you did that on the page, and you did it so beautifully during this interview. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the forum.
You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, sir.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
LA Metro invites you and the whole family to a free community celebration on Saturday, February 7th at the Metro Willowbrook Rosa Park Station in Watts. Enjoy live music, local art, and delicious food vendors as we celebrate culture, community, and good vibes. Come out Saturday, February 7th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Metro Willowbrook Rosa Park Station. Don't miss it. Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and just before we get to the quiet part out loud, I just want to highlight that we've been talking to the author of the new book Stalked about some never before heard stories related to Nicole Brown Simpson and O.J. Simpson. And we talked about the trial of the century, maybe one of the most consequential jury trials of the 20th century. Well, while we've been on the air, another very consequential jury trial has concluded. The New York Times is reporting that Uber is responsible for the rape by a driver. That's what a jury has found. A federal jury in Phoenix today has ordered Uber to pay $8.5 million to a passenger who said one of its drivers had raped her, setting the stage for thousands of similar cases around the country. The ride-hailing giant has long maintained that it's not liable for the conduct of drivers on its platform, whom it classifies as independent contractors, not employees. But the jury rejected that defense, providing a roadmap for more than 3,000 pending sexual assault and sexual misconduct lawsuits that accuse the company of systemic safety failures. The lawsuit was brought by Jaylyn Dean, who said that her Uber driver raped her in November 2023 during a ride to her hotel from her boyfriend's apartment in Tempe, Arizona. Ms. Dean said on the witness stand, quotes, "I want to make sure it doesn't happen to other women. I'm doing this for other women who thought the same thing I did, that they were making the safe and smart choice, but that, there are risks of being assaulted." Uber has fended off other claims in the case, including that it was negligent in its safety practices and that its app was defective. The jury awarded their award. It fell far short of the $144 million that Ms. Dean's lawyers had requested in damages. The jury did not dish out heavier penalties, in part because it did not find that the company's actions were, quote, outrageous, oppressive, or intolerable, or that they created substantial risk or significant harm. And so, again, we were talking about the story of Nicole Brown Simpson and O.J. Simpson, what so many people call the trial of the century, the 20th century. Well, while we've been on air, recent development about another trial, perhaps one of the big trials of the 21st century, Uber being held responsible for the rape by a driver. A federal jury has found that they are to pay $8.5 million to a passenger, just one passenger, who said that one of its drivers had raped her. In other news, in our remaining minutes, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the life of Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin, we speak his name, and we join the folks over at colorofchange.org. We join the folks that are a part of the Black Lives Matter movement and beyond, in acknowledging what would have been his 31st birthday. I think Color of Change summed it up real well when they said that we choose to honor his life and not the day on which he was unjustly taken from us. We choose to remember him as a son, to remember him as a young person with a future who hoped to attend Florida A&M or the University of Miami. It's worth noting that he was a 17-year-old Black boy who deserved to grow older, who deserved to dream freely, who deserved to live fully. He was someone who should be still walking among us. And for many of us, as the folks over at Color of Change have noted, his murder, it lit the fire for us to turn our anger into activism within the Black Lives Matter movement. And so on today, We not only say his name, Trayvon Martin, but we remember Trayvon. We speak his name, and we continue to carry the truth of his life forward today and always, as the folks over at Color of Change, as the folks that are part of the Black Lives Matter movement, as people of conscience everywhere say, until justice is real. Until justice is real. And so may the soul of Trayvon Martin rest in peace. And may we all be reminded that it's on us to do what we can from where we are with what we have. I say that every single day as we wrap up this show, because I actually really believe that. You know, that organizing principle was shared with me when I was a young organizer, a young activist, if you will. And I never let go of that organizing principle. In the face of so much that's happening in our communities, so much that's happening in our country, so much that's happening in the world, it's important that we as leaders on the front lines, that we not be overwhelmed by it. But we start somewhere. We start somewhere. And that somewhere is likely right under our feet. As my grandmother says, we got to pray with our hands and pray with our feet. And so there's no time like the present. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce a more perfect union. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer extraordinaire, Brother Andy, to our show producers, Art Sears and Faraji Muhammad. And to each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners, we curate this show every day with you in mind. We hope you've enjoyed what we have assembled for you today. And have a great rest of the week this Friday Eve. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.